Hello, I'm Helen Whitty. I'm the National President of Mothers Against Drunk Driving, and I'm here today in California, virtually, of course, to thank law enforcement for the work they do to keep everyone in this state so much safer. Without the work you do on our roads, there would be so many more victims. So MADD wants to recognize you today for the work you do on our roads and to thank you for what you do. I didn't come to MADD by my choice. I came here because of someone else's choice to drive after drinking alcohol and smoking marijuana. My 16-year-old daughter came home from high school one afternoon and was nervous. She said, "I'm gonna go work off my stress. I'll put on my rollerblades. Don't worry, Mom, I'll be right back. I love you." And I never saw her again. That same day, another girl who had chosen to work her stress off with alcohol and marijuana ran my daughter down while my daughter was on that bike path. Our lives changed forever. My daughter's life ended, mine did not. And MADD was there to help me put back the pieces, but they also introduced me to the work that law enforcement does. I got to see firsthand the work you do on our roads that's so dangerous for you to do and yet saves so many lives. Thank you. MADD also introduced me to the detective who had notified me of my daughter's death. And I was able to see the work he does and to work with him to help stop this crime. So while everyone is here today to thank you and recognize you for the work you do on our roads, I'm also here today to thank you for the work you do off of our roads, for the work you do when you walk alongside a victim, when you take off that armor that you wear every day, I mean that emotional armor, and you take it off so that you can walk and talk with a victim. Thank you for that. You help us heal as well as saving our lives. So thank you.
Greetings, esteemed guests, sponsors, victims, and honorees. Welcome to MADD California's 2020 Virtual Law Enforcement Recognition event. My name is Patricia Riera. I am the California State Executive Director for Mothers Against Drunk Driving. It is MADD California's honor to host and recognize you today. To our honorees, please accept this virtual recognition as just a small token of our appreciation, which validates and honors your contributions to keeping our streets safe. You are truly an essential part and a valuable member of the MADD California family. The MADD Law Enforcement Recognition Awards are an annual MADD event that recognizes excellence in DUI enforcement while creating awareness and community support for law enforcement efforts to eliminate impaired driving. This year, virtually, the event will recognize law enforcement honorees for the number of impaired driving arrests made annually. Each arrest is a life saved, and MADD California applaud your dedication to keep our roads safe. During 2019, MADD California staff and volunteers happily traveled all over California delivering MADD's core programs and services, all of which are free of charge to the public. These volunteer-based programs include, but are not limited to, victim advocacy, underage drinking prevention programs, community engagement, and the campaign to eliminate drunk driving. So what does MADD really do? That's a question that I get all the time. MADD provides services to victims and families of drunken drug crashes at no cost, successfully lobby to support stronger drunk driving laws, deliver underage drinking prevention strategies to thousands of teens, and we are single-handedly responsible for changing the apathetic culture surrounding drinking and driving. This year, 2020, marks the 40th anniversary of MADD's impact across the country. Through the efforts of MADD, over the past 4 decades, highway deaths caused by drunk driving crashes have been cut in half. That's very impressive. However, drunk driving continues to be a leading cause of death and injuries in our country. Drunk driving has claimed the lives of over 1,000 people here in California alone in 2018. Every single one of those deaths is 100% preventable. As we celebrate MADD's 40th year anniversary as the grassroots organization that started the cultural revolution that made drunken drug driving unacceptable, we ask that you acknowledge our heroes in law enforcement and take a stand with us at hashtag #OneMaddCalifornia to further a future with no more victims. In closing, I'd like to extend a special thank you to our sponsors, community partners, and the district attorney's offices. Thank you for your continued support of MADD's efforts. Again, to all of the honorees, it is our honor to acknowledge your outstanding leadership in saving lives. Keep up the good work, and congratulations.
Hi, my name is Natasha Thomas, and I'm the Northern California Regional Executive Director for Mothers Against Drunk Driving. Thank you for tuning in to our virtual law enforcement recognition event. Every single year, not just here in Northern California or the state of California, but across the nation, each MADD offices host a law enforcement recognition luncheon in person to honor you for your efforts in keeping our roadways safe and creating a community and an environment of no more victims. We know that we cannot do the work that we do at MADD without you there risking your lives day in and day out to keep our roadways safe. So we're here to honor you, to thank you for all of your efforts. We usually do these events in person, but due to COVID and so much civil unrest happening throughout the nation, we unfortunately can't have these events this year in person, but we did not want your work to go unnoticed. So we're here in our new normal via a virtual platform to thank you, continue to thank you, and know that we know that you're out there risking your lives day in and day out to make sure that we create an environment of no more victims and to combat this 100% preventable crime. So once again, from Northern California, from the state of California, and from across the nation, we stand with you and know that we are one MADD California and we cannot do the work without you. So thank you.
Hi, my name is Nancy O'Malley, and I'm the District Attorney for Alameda County. And I'm here to talk about driving under the influence, either of alcohol or drugs. First, across the country, we lose about 11,000 people a year to DUI-related crashes. One thing I've learned, and I learned through MADD, is that I used to refer to them as accidents, but the truth is they're not accidents, because driving under the influence crashes are 100% preventable. Driving under the influence deaths are 100% preventable. But I want to say that we're looking at a lot of data with young people and how many young people are still going out, having drinks, maybe smoking, and getting behind the wheel of a car. And this is very frightening for all of us because not only are they endangering themselves, but they're endangering the rest of us who are on the road. I really want to thank our law enforcement partners who are out on the road every day, every night, making sure that people that are not fit to drive because they've been drinking or perhaps because they've been smoking, that they are taken off the road. There's a lot of danger on the road, and there's a lot of danger for our law enforcement when they're trying to stop someone who shouldn't be on the road, who shouldn't be driving. So I'm grateful and I'm thankful to all of our law enforcement partners. I will tell you that just since COVID started here in Alameda County, we've had several driving under the influence cases, and a good portion of those people are driving over 100 miles an hour on the freeways. Thankfully, law enforcement has been able to apprehend them, and before there's been anything tragic. But the truth is we've had way too many tragedies of people who are driving under the influence that have not only had a crash, but have killed other people in the process. So thank you to law enforcement for everything you do and for keeping all of us safe. Let me talk a little bit about MADD. Our relationship with MADD is so important. The role that MADD plays in our community is so important. I will share with you that many years ago, I had a sister who was killed by a woman who was driving with too much alcohol and a mixture of drugs in her system. She killed my sister, and my father and my brother were both in the car, who were both injured. We didn't have MADD then. We didn't have an association that understood how to support people, how to support family members who have lost someone, or to support people that have been involved in crashes because of another person driving under the influence. So I can see just how important MADD has become, not only as a group that supports people who've either lost a loved one or have had injury as a result of driving under the influence, but very importantly, the work that they're doing with people who have been arrested for driving under the influence and have been prosecuted, to learn about the impact of what their behavior has on other people on the road is immeasurable. Because I know that when MADD conducts one of the victim impact sessions and they have people who have been convicted of driving under the influence, listening to real victims talk about the impact that that person was likely to never drive and drink again. MADD's also a very strong political force, and I'm so supportive of the work that they're doing. First of all, not only have they completely changed the way in which society looks at driving under the influence since 1980 when they were formed, it is no longer acceptable for people to drive under the influence, and that's a direct result of the advocacy that MADD has done over the years. But also the work that they're doing on a national level with the Moving Forward Act, which is working its way through Congress. That will have a lot of the car makers being able to adjust and modify the cars, especially the ignitions of the cars, so we can stop people who have got alcohol in their system from getting behind the wheel of the car. That's a very important issue, and I know that MADD has also been at the forefront of the laws in California to create the interlocking devices so that people that have been convicted of driving under the influence have to install a particular device. If they go to start their car and there's alcohol, their car won't start. These are all important efforts that have been led by MADD and which I have supported 100%. So as someone who knows what it feels like to lose a person to someone who's been driving under the influence of drugs and alcohol, I know from personal experience and on behalf of my family, our personal experience, that our healing process would have been very different if we had MADD. The work that we're doing in my office of prosecuting people who have been arrested and charged with driving under the influence is very impactful. We do public service announcements reminding people, don't drink and drive, don't smoke and drive. And these are very important. So all of us can get on the road and all of us can feel safe when we're driving with our families, with our friends, just by ourselves, that we are not in danger from somebody else on the road who's not obeying the rules, who's had too much to drink or has had too much to smoke, and now they're a danger to us. So thank you to everyone. Thank you to law enforcement. Thank you to MADD. And I'm just so honored to be a part of these efforts that is being led by MADD. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ryan Johansson, and I'm the Chief of Police for the City of San Bruno. It is truly such an honor to be speaking to you today as part of this amazing law enforcement recognition event put on by MADD. While I very much wish that I could be speaking to you in person, I am so grateful to MADD for finding a way to continue this event despite the health restrictions we're all working under. First and foremost, I want to say thank you to all of the law enforcement officers who are being recognized today, and to the leadership of their departments for making DUI enforcement a priority. Being a great DUI cop requires a ton of work, and we all know it's far from the sexiest kind of police work you can do. But with about 10,000 lives tragically taken by DUI drivers every year in this country, which by the way is more than 3 9/11 attacks annually, you'd be hard-pressed to find a better way to fulfill your sworn duty to protect and serve your community than working DUI enforcement. Now, MADD knows this better than anyone because MADD is comprised of countless people whose lives have been forever impacted by this horrible crime. And the people at MADD know how pivotally important your work is to saving others from suffering as they have. This is why MADD puts on law enforcement recognition events like this one. Even now, at a time when it can seem like the whole world has suddenly turned against us, MADD coordinates an event to make sure you all know how much you're loved, appreciated, and needed. MADD has truly emerged as a tremendous partner of law enforcement, and I encourage you all to do whatever you can to further develop that partnership. To all of you being recognized today, congratulations and thank you. Thank you for choosing this most noble profession. Thank you for caring so deeply about people you don't even know that you would put your life on the line for theirs every day. Thank you for every life that you have saved by making a DUI stop, lives that didn't even know they were in danger and didn't even know they were saved. Thank you to your families for the countless sacrifices they make so that you can do this amazing work. And finally, thank you for continuing to protect all of those who need your protection despite the unfair criticism and scrutiny you are currently receiving. It is very clear through your actions that you stand one with MADD California to end impaired driving, and I stand with you. Thank you, be safe, and take care of one another.
Hi, Domenica Cardenas here. Let me start by thanking you for taking the time to be here today. 7 years ago, my father, Juan Antonio Cardenas, was the victim of an impaired driver. On Memorial Weekend of 2013, as my dad was on his way to work to catch the bus, and when he was legally crossing the street at an intersection in Daly City, he was struck by a car. The driver of the car drove through the intersection without braking, and with the full force of the car, what I consider his weapon, crashed into my dad, causing major brain trauma. My dad was in the hospital in a coma for about 3 weeks, and the night before Father's Day, my dad died. These past 7 years have not been easy. Our lives changed completely, and a day does not go by that I don't think about my dad. It is an honor to be able to say a few words here today. And honestly, I have so much to say, as I feel like a thank you is not and will never be enough for all that you do. This past 7 years, I expanded my family by having great mentors in my life. Mentors that are in law enforcement, whom I call family. They have helped me with my career and helped me by getting me off some of the most miserable days of my life. Law enforcement officers who have extended their friendship and are there for me with just a phone call away. Please know that we are grateful for each one of you for risking your lives out there, not only for getting impaired drivers off the road, but also for going into situations in which you don't know if you're gonna come out alive. During these trying times where law enforcement is being marginalized, where you must defend every single decision you make, I want you to know that you have a whole lot of people who loves you and supports you 100%. Please never forget the reason why you decided to get into law enforcement. Please don't forget all the lives you have saved and you are saving, even though you say that it's your job. Please don't forget that we are grateful for each one of you, and we pray every day that you make it home to your families. Please don't give up, and please don't get discouraged. In closing, I want to say, I saw the following quote a few days ago, and I want to share it with you. There are people that put their lives in harm's way every day. It's not something they do, it's something they are. Thank you for protecting us, and God bless. I stand with one MADD California to end impaired driving. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Chief Andy Hall with the Fresno Police Department. I'd like to congratulate my brothers and sisters who are being recognized today for their efforts in removing impaired drivers from our streets. You know, I started my career in law enforcement over 42 years ago. And most of that time I've been spent in traffic enforcement. I've been on a police motorcycle for almost 30 years of my career. And people always ask me how I got into traffic enforcement. And I can tell you I avoided it until I was allowed to do police work on a police motorcycle. At that point, I started to realize that I could really make a change in our community by enforcing traffic laws. And I want to tell you a story that motivated me to remove impaired drivers from our street. I had a fatal collision involving an 18-year-old child, a boy, who had just graduated from high school. He was actually coming home from a sober graduation when he was broadsided by a drunk driver and killed. And I remember the pain and suffering his death caused his mom and his family. And I remember talking to her at length and how difficult it was for her to deal with the loss of her child. At that point, I realized the devastation caused by impaired drivers on our community and how the pain and suffering is no different from any other murder. It was at this point that I dedicated my entire career, my life, to removing impaired drivers from our street. So I want to thank everybody who has made traffic enforcement and removing impaired drivers a calling. And it truly is. It's a thankless job. And you do it because you know what's right in your heart. And I'm here to thank you, not only publicly, but personally, on behalf of the men and women of law enforcement, my family, and the entire community for what you do. I stand with One MADD California in removing impaired drivers from our street, and I hope you'll stand with me.
Hello, my name is Wes Morgan, and I'm your host for today's Law Enforcement Recognition event. Today's event is virtual, with things going on in the world, COVID-19 and such. We can't all be together in the same room. And in fact, I'm in a locked classroom, just me and my phone, as I record this. I've been involved in law enforcement for 43 years. I was 33 years with Livermore Police Department. Very proud of the fact that during that time I made 2,000 DUI arrests. The last 10 years, I've been employed by the Alameda County Sheriff's Office as an EVOC instructor at the Regional Training Center in Dublin. And I'm very proud of the different things that I've done in my career, but nothing makes me more proud. Nothing makes me more honored than being a host for one of these events. I've had the opportunity to do it for a few years now, and nothing makes me more proud than being able to stand behind a podium and call you up to receive your award. I can't do that this year, but I can read your names, and I'm going to, and I cannot tell you how proud of each and every one of you this old cop is. I've been a volunteer for Mothers Against Drunk Driving for 18 years, and I've been a speaker and help them in any way that I can. So I'm going to ask you to maybe give them a little help also. And we're going to put the information on the screen, but I'm going to challenge you with a $5 challenge. If everybody who watches this video donates $5 to Mothers Against Drunk Driving, we can help them in this time that everyone needs a little help. All nonprofits have taken a big hit with COVID-19, and MADD is no different. So again, this old cop would like to challenge each and every one of you to make a $5 donation to Mothers Against Drunk Driving. So let's proceed with the event. We want to take a moment to recognize those who are not here with us today and have made the ultimate sacrifice. These are officers from our Bay Area, Fresno area, who have lost their life in the line of duty since our last MADD luncheon. Damon Gutzwiller, Santa Cruz County Sheriff's Office, end of watch, June 6th, 2020. Elmer Jonathan Diaz, Lemoore PD, End of watch, November 2nd, 2019. Please join me in a moment of silence in honor of these heroes. This year, we've added 2 new awards to be presented at our virtual event today. The first is Outstanding Rookie. The Outstanding Rookie Award is presented to an officer or deputy who has been on the job for 1 year or less. And they were nominated by a superior or coworker for their dedication to going above and beyond the call of duty to prevent alcohol, DUI-related tragedies. This year's Rookie of the Year awards go to, from the Merced Police Department, Officer Jennifer Shaw. From the Richmond Police Department, Officer Kevin Lemus. And from the Sunnyvale Police Department, Officer Stephen Aycock Jr. Our second award that we've added this year is the Outstanding Service Award. These officers or deputies were nominated by a superior or coworker. And again, it's meant to recognize their dedication to go above and beyond the call of duty to reduce alcohol-related deaths and injuries. This year's service award winners are from CHP Golden Gate, Officer Pedro Santiago. Also from CHP Golden Gate, Officer Brian Wood. From the Lafayette Police Department, Officer Brian Holscher. From the Palo Alto Police Department, Officer Brian Conley. From the Pleasanton Police Department, Sergeant Chris Niederhaus. From the Richmond Police Department, Officer Alyssa Alvarado. From the San Francisco Police Department, Officer Crispin Jones. From the Sunnyvale Police Department, Public Safety Officer David Larks. Congratulations to each and every one of you on these awards and the lives you're saving by your efforts to eliminate impaired driving. Congratulations. Now let's announce our Century Award winners for 2019. These are officers who made more than 100 arrests during last year. Think for a moment the lives that were saved by these over 1,000 arrests. Amazing. From the Fresno Police Department, Officer Jaime Casillas, 100 DUI arrests. Officer Christopher Clark, 105 DUI arrests. Officer Stephen Flick, 113 DUI arrests. Officer Dino Garcia, 121 DUI arrests. Officer Kevin Jones, 110 DUI arrests. Officer Hunter Larios, 110 DUI arrests. Officer Derek Montgomery, 124 DUI arrests. Officer Samuel Sanders, 131 arrests. Officer Levon Tarakshian, 109 DUI arrests. And Officer Christopher Wyatt, 102 DUI arrests. From CHP Fresno, Officer Joshua Braun, 150 arrests. Officer Lazario Calderon, 109 DUI arrests. Officer Jaime Drain, 102 DUI arrests. Officer Corday Spencer, 109 DUI arrests. Officer Corey Walzak, 101 DUI arrests. From CHP Oakland, Officer Mason Carter, 103 DUI arrests. From CHP San Jose, Officer Pedro Santiago, 108 DUI arrests. And from CHP Santa Rosa, Officer Kenneth Giordano, 102 DUI arrests. Congratulations to each and every one of you. Outstanding, outstanding. This whole cop is proud. And now the top DUI arresting officer in the Northern California, Fresno area. The top cop for calendar year 2019 from CHP Fresno, Officer Tyler Looper, with 169 DUI arrests. Congratulations, Tyler. And you know, you saved lives, Tyler, by removing that number of DUIs from our roadways. Congratulations.
Hi, Officer Looper. Thank you so much for being our Central Valley awardee for our law enforcement recognition of being our top cop here in the Central Valley. How have you collaborated with MADD Central Valley?
The CHP has invited MADD volunteers to come out to our checkpoints. I think with their assistance, we've been able to relay the message to the community on how serious impaired driving is. I have been recognized 8 times in the past by MADD for my DUI enforcement efforts. And I am both humbled and honored to be recognized for this prestigious award.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much. Can you discuss the importance of law enforcement recognition events?
As law enforcement officers, we do what we do for public safety and not for personal recognition. These type of events validate our work and build morale within our office. It is encouraging to be reminded that our efforts are noticed and activity are encouraging.
Thank you, of course. Yeah, how has the DUI efforts changed throughout this pandemic?
During the pandemic, we have seen fewer vehicles on the roadway due to social distancing and people self-quarantining. However, the CHP's mission has remained unchanged. Not everyone has received the message when it comes to driving under the influence, so our DUI arrests are remaining consistent. Our arrests have been regular. We try and do it as safe as possible by wearing masks and wearing gloves.
Yeah, of course. And then, so with every donation, we hope to build a stronger foundation and awareness for our One MADD California campaign. What would be your message of hope to your community on why they should be a part of MADD's mission?
In order to prevent the loss of life, CHP and MADD encourages everyone to designate a sober driver or use public transportation, call a taxi or use a rideshare company, or just stay where you are for the night. Consequences of impaired driving are high. It could cost you your license, your life, or the loss of life of someone else. And the victims are real. And with that said, the California Highway Patrol stands with One MADD California to end impaired driving.
Thank you so much, Officer Looper.
Thank you.
And now, the top DUI arresting officer from Northern California, Bay Area. The top cop from the Bay Area, from the Richmond Police Department, is Officer Kwa Nguyen, with 113 DUI arrests. Congratulations, Officer Nguyen. And if you stop and think how many law enforcement officers are in the Bay Area, and you had the top number of all of them, congratulations.
Hi, I'm Deirdre Carrick, and I'm a program specialist with Mothers Against Drunk Driving. I want to congratulate Officer Nguyen for his Top Cop Award. And with that, I have a few questions that I want to ask him. So Officer Nguyen, how have you collaborated with MADD Northern California?
Well, myself and the Richmond Police Department, we've collaborated with MADD Northern California by partnering with MADD volunteers to come out to our checkpoints, our DUI checkpoints. And with MADD volunteers, I think we were able to get the message across to our many contacts during these checkpoints on the dangers and the costs associated with impaired driving. I've also personally been involved with MADD by attending a victim impact panel right here in Richmond, California. And I've also sat through a few presentations by MADD volunteers who spoke about their personal experiences with loss of loved ones through impaired driving.
Thank you. And also, how long have you been focusing on DUI enforcement during your career?
I've been doing DUI enforcement for about 12 years now, but I've been focusing on it for probably the past 4 years or so.
Okay, and how can DUI enforcement be further improved?
I think DUI enforcement can further be improved just through continuous training. I know here in the Richmond Police Department, we place a special emphasis on DUI enforcement by requiring all new officers to go through a 1-week training program within their entire training program to gain competency on DUI investigations. And just recently, I think the Richmond Police Department values DUI investigations because we just increased that 1-week training to now a 2-week training program for all new officers that are hired with our department. In addition to that, we've been very fortunate as an agency to partner with the Contra Costa County District Attorney's Office, where we've had district attorneys push out training bulletins for officers on how to do better DUI investigations and on how to author better DUI reports as well. And also, we've made a concerted effort as a department on sending officers through more advanced DUI training classes, such as the Standardized Field Sobriety Training class and the A-Ride training course as well.
Thank you. And with every donation, we hope to build a stronger foundation and awareness for our hashtag #OneMADDCalifornia campaign. What would be your message for hope to your community and why they should support MADD's mission?
My message for my community on why they should support MADD's mission is because if you've ever driven a vehicle, or if you've ever been a passenger in a vehicle, or if you've ever known anyone that's driven a vehicle, or anyone that's ever been a passenger in a vehicle, then MADD's mission impacts you. And the dangers of impaired driving is real, and it's critical that we put an end to this. So with that said, I stand with MADD California to end impaired driving.
Thank you so very much.
And now on to the MADD Awards for 2019. This is where we recognize those officers who have been nominated by their agencies for making a difference. And I'm here to remind you today, an old cop talking to each and every one of you who's watching this, you are making a difference. As I read these names and read the number of arrests, I want you all to just stop and think of the lives that have been saved by the work done by these officers and deputies. There are families today who are out enjoying life because of arrests that were made that I'm going to recognize right now. And that's pretty cool. We don't know the ones we saved. We never will. Sadly, we know the ones we lose. But I'm here today to remind each and every one of you, when I read your name, please just pause for a moment and think, I might have saved some lives last year, because I'm here to tell you, you did. So with that, I'm going to start reading the Bay Area names first, and then we will go to the Fresno area names after that. From the Atherton Police Department, Officer Daniel Rojas, 6 DUI arrests. From the Belmont Police Department, Officer Thomas Castellanos, 5 arrests. And Officer Gonzalo Palafox, 5 DUI arrests. From the Clayton Police Department, Officer Tori Jarvis, 10 DUI arrests. From the Colma Police Department, Officer Christopher Grant, 12 arrests. And Officer Josh Moreno, 10 arrests. From the Daly City Police Department, Officer Jerry Greener, 12 DUI arrests. And Officer Tyler Green, 12 DUI arrests. From the Danville Police Department, Officer Matan Weingarten, 15 DUI arrests. From the El Cerrito Police Department, Officer Jordan Alabrandt, 11 DUI arrests. From East Palo Alto Police Department, Officer Francisco Fausto. From the Foster City Police Department, Officer John Choi, 18 DUI arrests. From the Fremont Police Department, Officer Robert Gerber, 9 DUI arrests. And Officer Alexander Gregory, 9 DUI arrests. From the Gilroy Police Department, Officer Masafumi Yamamoto, 49 DUI arrests. And from the Hayward Police Department, and I'm going to pause here for just a moment. The officer's name who I'm about to read in the 1990s was my 11-year-old shortstop on a Little League team that I was managing. So he went from being my 11-year-old shortstop to now, more than 20 years later, with me reading his name for 59 DUI arrests. Congratulations, Nate. Officer Nate Cinto, Hayward Police Department. From the Lafayette Police Department, Officer Brian Holscher, 15 DUI arrests. From the Livermore Police Department, Officer Mahe Avtar, 31 DUI arrests. Officer Kurt Kofer, 30 DUI arrests. And Officer Shannon Purveer, 25 DUI arrests. From the Los Altos Police Department, Officer Miguel Wong, 6 DUI arrests. From the Menlo Police Department, Officer Michael Greaves, 7 DUI arrests. From the Milpitas Police Department, Officer Clint Jackman, 12 DUI arrests. And Officer Jose Lorasasco, 11 DUI arrests. Officer Miguel Nava, 12 DUI arrests. From the Morgan Hill Police Department, Officer Eddie Gutierrez, 32 DUI arrests. From the Mountain View Police Department, Officer Kyle Einfalt, 42 DUI arrests. From the Newark Police Department, Officer Blair Slavaza, 24 DUI arrests. From the Oakland Police Department, Officer Matthew Hone, 31 DUI arrests. And Officer Caitlin Hoyle, 38 DUI arrests. From the Pacifica Police Department, Officer William Smith, 12 DUI arrests. Officer Hayden Fry, 10 DUI arrests. And Officer Joe Gomez, 9 DUI arrests. From the Pleasant Hill Police Department, Officer Tobin Bolter, 8 arrests. And Officer Stephen Vuong, 8 DUI arrests. From the Pleasanton Police Department, Officer Brian Jewell, 28 DUI arrests. From the Presidio of Monterey, Officer Casey Murphy, 32 DUI arrests. From the Richmond Police Department, Sergeant Kwa Nguyen, 113 DUI arrests. From the Salinas Police Department, Officer Eduardo Bajarano, 60 DUI arrests. And Officer Peter Magallan, 23 DUI arrests. Officer Tyler Provost, 25 DUI arrests. And Officer Jonathan Tuilo Sega, 30 DUI arrests. From the San Bruno Police Department, Corporal Scott Smith Matungal, 16 DUI arrests. From the San Mateo Police Department, Officer Molby Wong, 7 DUI arrests. And Officer Ian Savage, 7 DUI arrests. From the San Francisco Police Department, Officer Joshua McFall, 25 DUI arrests. And Officer Jared Yee, 19 arrests. From the San Rafael Police Department, Officer Carl Lumen, 25 DUI arrests. From the San Ramon Police Department, Officer Stephen Hill, 20 DUI arrests. From Scotts Valley Police Department, Officer Pascal Wowak, 18 DUI arrests. From the South San Francisco Police Department, Officer Rick Arenas, 6 DUI arrests. Officer John Paulo, 7 DUI arrests. Officer Scott Peradato, 6 DUI arrests. And Officer Diana Quintero, 6 DUI arrests. And Officer Henry Valise, 7 DUI arrests. From the Sunnyvale Police Department, Public Safety Officer David Larks, 28 DUI arrests. And Public Safety Officer Eugene Rossetti, 28 DUI arrests. From the Union City Police Department, Officer Andrew Moyo, 16 DUI arrests. From the Walnut Creek Police Department, Officer Eric Young, 20 arrests. And from the Alameda County Sheriff's Office, Deputy Riley Walter, 19 DUI arrests. From the San Mateo County Sheriff's Department, Deputy John Lothian, 64 DUI arrests. From the Santa Cruz County Sheriff's Department, Deputy Callum Cecil Warity, 26 DUI arrests. Now for the California Highway Patrol. From CHP Monterey, Officer Wesley Barnes, 60 DUI arrests. Officer Mackenzie Crouch, 51 DUI arrests. Officer Isidro Murrow, 65 DUI arrests. Officer Ryan McDonald, 61 arrests. Officer Matthew Pichia, 56 DUI arrests. Officer Cole Perez, 52 arrests. Officer Jaime Rios, 55 arrests. Officer Brandon Rogers, 54 DUI arrests. From CHP Santa Clara, Officer Michael Duarte, 54 DUI arrests. Officer John Ertel, 52 DUI arrests. Officer Joshua Jolly, 78 DUI arrests. Officer Timothy Kozisek, 60 DUI arrests. Officer Israel Murillo, 72 DUI arrests. Officer Brian Mutoza, 59 DUI arrests. Officer Evigio Quinones, 54 DUI arrests. Officer Brandon Silva, 53 DUI arrests. And Officer Nicholas Wells, 73 DUIRS. And from CHP Golden Gate Division, CHP Castro Valley Office, Officer Dylan Garcia, 44 DUIRS. From CHP Contra Costa, Officer Thaddeus Johnson, 43 DUIRS. And Officer Michael Parks, 42 DUIRS. From CHP Dublin, Officer Morgan Bonds, 57 DUIRS. Officer Avery Davis, 74 arrests. Officer Tanner Elson, 61 arrests. Officer Jordan Hartsfield, 60 arrests. Officer Twan Lee, 66 DUIRS. Officer Abel Moran, 72 DUIRS. Officer Thomas Silva, 70 DUIRS. And Officer Michael Teague, 58 DUIRS. And from CHP Hayward, Officer Max Brunmeyer, 54 DUIRS. Officer David Cristalinas, 65 DUIRS. Officer Mark Espirito, 54 DUIRS. Officer Matthew McCants, 50 DUIRS. Officer Heriberto Rodriguez, 52 DUIRS. And Officer Parmdeep Singh, 50 arrests. From CHP Marin, Officer Zachary Bryant, 53 DUIRS. From CHP Napa, Officer Randy Brunson, 62 DUIRS. Officer Jesus Lopez, 64 DUIRS. Officer Jesse Perez Ramirez, 50 DUIRS. Officer Riley Sullivan, 61 DUIRS. From CHP Oakland, Officer Sean Anderson, 61 DUIRS. Officer Mason Carter, 103 DUIRS. Officer Trevor Clark, 51 DUIRS. Officer Angel Davia, 50 DUIRS. And Officer Diego Gomez, 51 DUIRS. Officer Noe Gonzalez, 50 DUIRS. Officer Carlos Rios, 51 DUIRS. Officer Carl Roberts, 50 DUIRS. And Officer Samantha Thomason, 51 DUIRS. From CHP Redwood City, Officer James Blunt, 66 DUIRS. Officer Juan Garcia, 54 DUIRS. Officer Christopher Hayashi, 53 arrests. Officer Cesar Perez, 52 arrests. Officer Eric Rabone, 50 DUIRS. And Officer Daniel Scott, 57 DUIRS. From CHP San Francisco, Officer Brian Elder, 74 DUIRS. Officer Marcelo Garcia Ortiz, 53 arrests. Officer Gregory Hodge, 58 arrests. And Officer Pedro Santiago, 108 DUIRS. From CHP San Jose, Officer Carissa Brooker, 55 DUIRS. Officer Juan Torres, 58 DUIRS. From CHP San Rafael, Officer Zachary Bryant, 53 DUIRS. From CHP Santa Rosa, Officer Boone Baith, 50 DUIRS. Officer Salvador Becerra Chavez, 53 DUI arrests. And Officer Jeffrey Drum, 63 DUI arrests. Officer Kenneth Giordano, 102 DUI arrests. Officer Jeffrey Pack, 53 arrests. Officer Tyler Valley, 54 DUI arrests. Officer Brian Wood, 56 DUI arrests. And from CHP Solano, Officer Devin Baumgartner, 94 DUI arrests. Officer Andrew Burnett, 64 DUI arrests. Officer Daniel Butolf, 80 DUI arrests. Officer Scott Hardman, 53 arrests. Officer Nicholas Lindsay, 54 arrests. And Officer Eduardo Padilla, 52 DUI arrests. And now from the Northern California Fresno region awardees. From CSU Fresno State, Officer Abigail Ager, 3 DUI arrests. Officer Alma Hernandez, 3 DUI arrests. Officer Yesenia Hernandez, 3 DUI arrests. From the Avenal Police Department, Officer Tyler Stride, 13 DUI arrests. From the Coalinga Police Department, Officer Francisco Ibarra, 6 DUI arrests. From the Dinuba Police Department, Officer Miguel Cardenas, 26 DUI arrests. From the Farmersville Police Department, Officer Eduardo Carrillo, 27 DUI arrests. From the Firebaugh Police Department, Officer Brett Miller, 9 DUI arrests. From the Fresno Police Department, Officer Jaime Casillas, 100 DUI arrests. Officer Christopher Clark, 105 DUI arrests. Officer Stephen Flick, 113 DUI arrests. Officer Dino Garcia, 121 DUI arrests. Officer Kevin Jones, 110 DUI arrests. Officer Hunter Larios, 110 DUI arrests. Officer Derek Montgomery, 124 DUI arrests. Officer Joshua Pantage, 98 DUI arrests. Officer Brian Patterson, 87 DUI arrests. Officer Neil Ricablenca, 83 DUI arrests. Officer Carson Sanders, 88 arrests. Officer Samuel Sanders, 131 DUI arrests. And Officer Levon Tarakshian, 109 DUI arrests. Officer Tuan Tran, 82 DUI arrests. Officer Brandon Turner, 59 DUI arrests. And Officer Christopher Wyatt, 102 DUI arrests. From the Hanford Police Department, Officer Larry Leeds, 15 DUI arrests. From the Mendota Police Department, Detective Edward Jimenez, 32 DUI arrests. From the Merced Police Department, Officer Eduardo Chavez, 37 DUI arrests. Officer Levi Crane, 30 DUI arrests. Officer Miles Richter, 34 DUI arrests. Officer Jennifer Shaw, 17 DUI arrests. From the Parlier Police Department, Officer Javier Orique, 28 DUI arrests. Officer Edgar Martinez, 27 DUI arrests. From the Visalia Police Department, Officer Daniel Gonzalez, 63 DUI arrests. Officer Amory Norman, 40 DUI arrests. And Officer Justin Gaskins, 27 DUI arrests. And now, from the CHP Central Inland Division, Officer Bradley Bowman, 90 DUI arrests. Officer Joshua Braun, 150 DUI arrests. Officer Alex Bryant, 93 DUI arrests. Officer Lazaro Calderon, 109 DUI arrests. Officer Jaime Drain, 102 arrests. Officer Samuel Escueda, 80 DUI arrests. Officer Johnny Fisher, 58 DUI arrests. Officer Michael Godfrey, 66 DUI arrests. Officer Gary Gray, 79 arrests. Officer Herb Kellogg, 82 arrests. Officer Tyler Looper, 169 DUI arrests. Officer Dustin McCaslin, 67 DUI arrests. Officer Justin Montooth, 71 arrests. And Officer Mario Ochoa, 67 DUI arrests. Officer Jason Protzman, 62 arrests. Officer John Ramos, 75 DUI arrests. Officer Anthony Simonian, 78 DUI arrests. Officer Jason Smith, 78 DUI arrests. Officer Hugo Solorio, 65 arrests. Officer Cord Spencer, 109 DUI arrests. Officer Jason Steinhauer, 67 DUI arrests. And Officer Corey Walzak, 101 DUI arrests. On behalf of Mothers Against Drunk Driving, we would like to congratulate each and every one of you on the award and recognition that you just received and the lives you saved in 2019. I would also like to add my personal thank you and congratulations to each and every one of you. I hope that next year I can be in a room with you and we can and I can shake each and every one of your hands. So keep making the DUI arrests, keep saving lives, and we'll see you at next year's event. We'd like to remind you one more time of our $5 challenge. Please take a moment and donate at least $5 to Mothers Against Drunk Driving and help them during these times of COVID. In August, we have a paint night event coming up. Please join us. It's a virtual paint night, a lot of fun. And Matt is putting that out there for you, and we hope you can join us for that.
Hey everyone, my name's Emily Perano, and I'm an intern with Mothers Against Drunk Driving Bay Area affiliate. If you're looking for other ways to get involved with MADD, you might want to check out our upcoming virtual Paint It Forward event. This is a Learn to Paint event co-hosted by MADD Northern California and Art Buzz, taking place on August 12th at 6 p.m. You know, as we're still at home, this event is going to be a great opportunity to bring together the entire family. It's all right if you don't have any prior art or painting experience. We're all in this together and we will create something beautiful. The event is a great way to also maybe connect with your family and friends or coworkers or even your neighbors that you haven't seen in a while. We encourage you, if you have family or friends out of state, to ask them to join. The cost is $55 per person, and that includes all the needed art supplies. Nearly 40% of all the proceeds of this event will go directly towards MADD. So join the entire MADD community and spread a little painting happiness while raising awareness and funds for the mission of MADD. For ways to sign up, I encourage you to check out our social media at MADD California on Facebook and Instagram. If you also want to check out the Law Enforcement Recognition Program, there's a flyer in there that outlines more details of the Paint It Forward event. I want to personally congratulate you on your MADD award and thank you so much for keeping our roadways safe.
I'd like to thank all of our sponsors who made this event possible, this virtual event. It's not easy, and the sponsors did a great job, and we thank each and every one of them. And we'd like to end with a video from our victims and volunteers. This video is for you.
The MADD Fresno volunteers would like to take a moment to say thank you to all of you road heroes out there who save lives every day by keeping our roads and highways safe.
Thank you, officers.
We stand with
One MADD California
to end impaired driving.
Thank you, road heroes.
Thank you.
Thank you.